Welcome to Doctors of the Past. In this video, we will talk about one of Syracuse's bloodiest and most successful tyrants. Stay with us, subscribe, and thank you so much for your time. Agathocles stands as one of the most morally ambiguous figures in the history of Syracuse, capable of both the most despicable acts and the most praiseworthy achievements. He was born around 361 BC in Thermae Himerae. According to Timaeus, a historian exiled by Agathocles himself, his father was a potter. This claim of humble origin should be treated with extreme skepticism, as accusations of low birth were a recurring insult in Greek political discourse directed at tyrants. Agathocles' close connections with the Syracusan elite and his brother's service as a strategos make this story quite unlikely. However, the future tyrant, far from denying the potter story, frequently fueled it. At his banquets, he would occasionally place pottery vessels next to gold ones to highlight the contrast between his humble beginnings and his prosperity as king. He moved to Syracuse with his father, and by the 320s BC, he was already an influential man in public life. He served as a chiliarch, a military officer in a campaign against Agathocles, and married the widow of a Syracusan general to inherit her fortune. He soon became the leader of the faction opposing the Syracusan oligarchy, relying on the support of the lower economic classes, the military, and mercenaries. After participating in a military expedition against Croton, Agathocles was accused of aspiring to tyranny and forced into exile on the Italian peninsula. There, he gathered an army that included other exiles and returned to Sicily, eventually besieging Syracuse itself. He was allowed back into the city on the condition of upholding the Great Oath, promising not to oppose democracy. He broke this promise with a decisive coup. He called a military assembly at the Timoleontium for a supposed expedition, and when the leaders of the 600 arrived, his troops massacred them, spreading the violence throughout the city. Finally, around 316 BC, the assembly named him Strategos Autocrator, general with absolute power and no colleagues, thus consolidating his tyranny. His rule triggered an escalation of conflicts that dragged in all of Sicily and Carthage. After a resounding defeat by the latter at the Battle of Himera, Agathocles was forced to retreat to Syracuse, where he was subsequently besieged. When it seemed his career as a tyrant had reached its end, he executed an unprecedented strategy, taking the war to enemy territory. After landing in Africa, Agathocles burned his own ships at Cape Bon, ensuring there was no possible retreat without victory. He achieved a major initial victory near Carthage, allowing him to establish his headquarters near the city of Tunis. However, the campaign became unsustainable due to the vast geographical scale of the conflict and financial difficulties. The situation grew even more complicated when the Syracusan tyrant murdered his ally Othelus of Cyrene to seize his troops. Agathocles fled Africa in secret, abandoning his army and his sons to their fate. Despite this setback, Agathocles managed to consolidate his power in Sicily. In 306 BC, he signed a peace treaty with Carthage, returning to the previous status quo. Shortly thereafter, he eliminated the opposition of the exiles and with the conquest of Gela, ended all Sicilian resistance. It was then that Agathocles declared himself king, Basileos. This act was a direct response to the adoption of the title by the Diadochi in the eastern Mediterranean. During the last 15 years of his rule, Sicily enjoyed a period of peace, as he focused on expansion toward Italy and the Adriatic. He strengthened international ties by marrying Theosina, a relative of Ptolemy I, and by marrying his daughter Lenassa to Pyrrhus of Epirus. At 72 years old, Agathocles passed away in 289 or 288 BC. Diodorus recounts that he was poisoned in a plot, while Justin suggests he died of a natural illness. That concludes today's dose. If you enjoyed it, check out our channel for more tablets. Next week, we will tell you a love story set in the midst of the Second Punic War.